Have you ever locked eyes with someone, and for a second, it felt like the world froze? Like time stopped ticking. The noise, the distractions, everything just disappeared. And in that silence, something pulled at you. Not just chemistry, not just curiosity. It felt like gravity. Like the universe was tugging on your soul, whispering, "Pay attention." Carl Jung had a word for this kind of experience. He called it synchronicity. That moment when your internal world and the external world align so perfectly. It's like the universe is speaking directly to you. It's not random. It's not luck. It's something bigger. Because sometimes the people we meet, they aren't just people. They're messengers, mirrors, guides. They don't just walk into our lives by accident. They arrive on purpose by some strange, divine timing. And when that kind of moment shows up, it doesn't come with neon signs or loud announcements. It arrives and whispers. So if you've ever felt that magnetic, soul-level pull towards someone who felt too significant, too fast, too deeply, stay with me. This message might be what your heart's been waiting for. Chapter 1. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. Ever notice how the biggest moments in life, the truly life-changing ones, don't come in with a bang? They arrive like a gentle tap, like soft rain against your window while the world sleeps. That's how the universe works. It doesn't scream, it nudges. And when someone is meant to shake your soul, the first moment within isn't dramatic. It's not fireworks. It's not violins or butterflies in your stomach. It's subtle, still, quiet. You meet them, and somehow, everything just settles. Your thoughts stop racing. Your inner critic goes quiet. And deep down, you just know. You're not noticing their looks or what they're saying. It's deeper than that. It's their energy. It feels strangely familiar. Like your soul has known there's lying before this life. Like you've been waiting for them, without even realizing it. That isn't fantasy. That isn't wishful thinking. That's alignment. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In other words, when you finally face your fears, your patterns, your truth, the world outside starts to reflect that inner work. And when it does, the universe doesn't need to shout to get your attention. You're finally ready. You're finally listening. And the right person doesn't show up to complete you. They show up to mirror you. Here's the part most people miss. A real connection, a soul-level one, doesn't just bring love or attraction. It brings truth. That person becomes your mirror. Not the kind that flatters, but the kind that reveals. They reflect your light, sure, but also your shadows, your depth, your potential. You don't just see them, you start to see yourself through them. Maybe for the first time ever. And that's when things start to change, not just in your relationship, but in your life. Chapter 2. The signs are too clear to ignore. Let's talk about those coincidences. You think about someone, and your phone lights up. It's them. Not a day later. Not hours later. Right then. Or maybe you're having one of those tough days, lost in your own head. And then suddenly, the perfect song comes on the radio. One that hits so hard, it feels like it was written about them, for you, in this exact moment. You get goosebumps, because it doesn't feel random. And it doesn't stop then. You're out, at a station, a bookstore, an airport you've never even been to, and there they are. You lock eyes, and it doesn't feel like chance. It feels orchestrated, like life has been holding its breath for this exact moment. Then more signs. You notice their initials in strange places. Few strangers casually mention their name. You're not looking for signs, but the signs? They're looking for you. These are not random glitches in the matrix. These are synchronicities. Carl Jung defines synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than chance is at play. In simple terms, these events aren't just random. They're connected in a way that goes beyond logic, and they mean something. It's like the universe is whispering, "There's something here. Pay attention." And most people miss it. They chalk it up to randomness. They move on. But here's the truth. These signs show up when you're finally waking up, when you're stepping into alignment, when your soul is starting to stir. It's not superstition. It's soul-level intelligence, spoken through symbols, patterns, and perfect timing. When you're not ready, the universe blocks paths. But when you're finally aligned, it clears them. And sometimes, it sends someone your way who doesn't make sense on paper, but makes perfect sense to your heart. Someone who makes you feel more you than you've ever felt. Someone whose presence stirs something ancient inside of you. something sacred, something buried. And you don't know why, but you can't shake them. You can't stop thinking about them. You feel drawn to them, challenged by them, moved by them. You might try to ignore it, run from it, doubt it. But the universe, it keeps whispering, through moments, through memories, through that unshakable sense that this isn't just some random person. This was written. Chapter 3, you don't just see them, you see you. We talk about falling for someone like it's all about them. They smile, they vibe, how they make us feel. But what if it's deeper than that? What if the real magic isn't just who they are, but who you become in their presence? What if we don't fall for a person, but for the version of ourselves they awaken? Carl Jung called this projection, and it's one of the most powerful concepts in psychology. It's the idea that we all carry multiple versions of ourselves. The one we show the world, and the one we hide, even from ourselves. The hidden self, the shadow, the part that holds our brilliance and our pain. When someone enters our lives, especially someone who connects on a soul level, we don't just see them, we project parts of ourselves onto them. Our desires, our wounds, our fears, our hopes. That's why you might feel instantly drawn to certain people. It's not just because of who they are. It's because they reflect something your soul has been searching for. Maybe it's their confidence, something you've always wanted but never allowed yourself. Maybe it's their calmness, something that balances the chaos inside you. Maybe it's even their distance, something that reminds you of someone who left long ago. They don't just reflect who you want to be. They reflect who you were, who you are, and who you could be. And that can feel overwhelming, intense, even painful. Because soul-level connections don't stroke your ego. They challenge it. They break down your walls. They show you the parts of yourself you've avoided for years. But that's why they're so powerful. They bring you face to face with your truth. Not the filtered, edited version. The raw, real version of you. The one that still breathes, still aches, still hopes. Sometimes, someone walks into your life and feels like home. But they're not the home. They're the mirror reminding you. It's time to come back home. To yourself. Chapter 4. Pain means it went deep. Here's something nobody really prepares you for. When the universe sends you someone truly aligned with your soul, it doesn't always feel like bliss. It doesn't always feel like a fairy tale. Sometimes it feels like chaos. Like your whole emotional foundation is crumbling. And not because that person is wrong for you, but because their presence starts waking up parts of you that have been asleep. Parts you buried. Parts you pretended didn't hurt. They don't just bring joy. They bring clarity. And clarity is brutal sometimes. Because once you see the truth, once your eyes open, you can't unsee it. You can't keep living behind those walls you spent years building. The ones around your heart. They start to crack. The pain you buried, it begins to surface. The defenses you thought were strength, they stop working. That's the thing about real love. Real, soul-deep love. It doesn't operate on ego. It's not here to just make you feel good. It's here to make you whole. And to become whole, you have to face your broken pieces. You start asking questions you've avoided for years. Why does vulnerability feel unsafe? Why do I push people away the moment they get close? Why do I keep repeating the same emotional patterns? You think you're falling for them, but really, you're falling into the parts of yourself you never healed. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, you don't grow by pretending everything is fun. You grow by finally looking at the parts of you that aren't. And sometimes, the person who makes your heart skip a beat is the same person who holds up the mirror you've spent your whole life avoiding. They didn't cause you pain. They revealed it. Their silence might trigger the time you were ignored. Their strength might bring up your own insecurities. Their distance might reactivate old memories of being left behind. It's not personal. It's spiritual. They're not the villain. They're the teacher. And love, real love, isn't just about connection. It's about transformation. It's about growth. Because love that only comforts you won't change you. But love that challenges you, that's where the evolution happens. Every emotional trigger they awaken is a doorway. An invitation to go deeper. To heal. To become who you were always meant to be. So if you're hurting right now, because someone cracked something open inside you, don't run from that pain. Sit with it. Let it speak. Let it teach you. Because pain is not always the end of something. Sometimes it's the beginning. The beginning of healing. The beginning of finally turning inward. The beginning of no longer abandoning yourself. And you'll notice something strange. As you heal, gratitude starts to grow. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. Because even if that person didn't stay, the lesson did. And it changed you. Some relationships are classrooms. And some teachers, they only stay for one lesson, but that lesson lasts forever. Chapter 5. The Shadow Wakes Up in Real Life. Every single one of us carries a storm inside. Not the kind that levels buildings. The kind that quietly eats away at our self-worth. It's made up of old wounds, suppressed fears, the jealousy we won't admit, the neediness we shame ourselves for, the fear of being abandoned, the anxiety of getting too close. Carl Jung called this part of us the shadow, the hidden self. Not the curated version you share online. Not the confident one your friends see, but the one that panics when someone pulls away. The one that cries when no one's watching. The one that flinches at the idea of intimacy. Most of us bury our shadow. We hide it behind confidence, behind humor, behind ambition and filters and polished personas. Until one day someone shows up. Not just anyone, a soul connection. And they don't just enter your life, they enter your unconscious. And suddenly, everything inside you starts to shift, to stir. Not because they're dangerous, but because they're powerful enough to awaken the parts of you that were sleeping. You feel things you don't understand. You get jealous, even though you've always considered yourself secure. You become emotionally attached, even though you pride yourself on independence. You fear losing them, even though you swore you'd never rely on anyone again. And all of this confusion leads you to ask, what is happening to me? Here's what's happening. Your shadow is waking up. This isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. This person didn't create the story. They revealed it. And that's what soul-level love does. It reveals. It doesn't just celebrate your light. It triggers your darkness. Not to hurt you, but to free you. Because here's the thing. Not every emotional storm is a problem. Some storms come to clear the air. To wash away what was never yours to carry. To release the weight you've held onto for far too long. Some people come into your life not to complete you, but to reveal you. To tear down what's false. To crack the shell. To whisper, hey, this is where it hurts. This is what needs healing. That's what destined love is. It's not about comfort. It's not about happily ever after. It's about confrontation. Not in a toxic way, but in a sacred, soul-expanding way. It says, here's your fear. Will you face it? Here's your control issues. Will you surrender? Here's your unworthiness. Will you learn to love yourself anyway? And when you choose growth, everything changes. Your shadow, once your enemy, becomes your greatest teacher. Your pain, once your fear, becomes your clearest mirror. You begin to love the parts of yourself you once avoided. You hold space for your flaws. You stop apologizing for being too much. And instead, you start healing the reasons you ever believed that. That's what this kind of love is meant to do. Not give you perfection, but return you to wholeness. So the next time someone walks into your life and stirs something inside you, something deep, something chaotic, don't run. Don't label it as wrong. Sit in the discomfort. Listen to what your shadow is trying to tell you. Because this love, it's not here to complete your story. It's here to help you start the real one. Chapter 6. Not every soul connection is meant to stay. At some point in your journey, you'll come to realize something that's both heartbreaking and healing. Not every person who enters your life is meant to stay. Some come in like lightning, loud, powerful, impossible to forget. Others drift in like a breeze, gentle, soothing, exactly what you needed in that season. But whether they come in quietly or shake everything up, they have one thing in common. They don't come to complete you. They come to change you. We're raised on stories that tell us love should last forever, that the goal is always the happily ever after. But what if that's not always the point? What if the purpose of certain people isn't to stay, but to awaken? What if their presence in your life had nothing to do with permanence and everything to do with alignment? They show up to spark something inside of you that nothing else ever could, to shake you out of autopilot, to crack the illusion you've been living in, to show you your blind spots, your fears, your hidden strength. And then, they leave, where life pulls you apart, where circumstances change, and you're left asking, was it even real? The answer is yes. Yes, it was real. Because as Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That's what these soul encounters do. They transform you. They don't always arrive when you expect them. They don't always look like what you imagine. And they definitely don't always stay. But they leave something behind. Something permanent. Something sacred. A fingerprint on your soul. These aren't just people. They're catalysts. They come to burn away your illusions. To challenge your limiting beliefs. To stretch you. To wake you up. Maybe they were the first person who made you feel truly sane. Maybe they sparked the courage for you to chase a dream. Maybe they shattered your heart just enough to force you to finally look inward. And maybe that absence, that painful, aching absence, was the very thing that led you back to yourself. Because pain, as awful as it feels, isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's instruction. It teaches you what you couldn't learn any other way. These connections, they're spiritual contracts. They don't all lead to commitment, but they all lead to clarity. You start to see that real love isn't always about ownership. It's not about locking someone in for life. It's about evolution. Some people awaken your souls so deeply, so fiercely, that the version of you who existed before them no longer fits. And no, you don't always end up with them. You don't always get closer, but you always walk away changed. And that change, it was the purpose all along. So if you're still grieving someone who felt like the one, someone who moved you but didn't stay, know this. You didn't fail. The connection did exactly what it was meant to do. It prepared you. It upgraded you. It cleared space for the next version of your life. Letting go doesn't mean it wasn't real. Letting go means the soul contract was complete. That's the difference between attachment and awareness. Attachment says, why can't we go back? Awareness whispers, you've outgrown that chapter. And that realization? It's freedom. Chapter 7. The universe sends people when you're ready. Here's one of the most powerful spiritual truths you'll ever hear. The universe doesn't respond to your wants. It responds to your readiness. It doesn't send you love just because you're lonely, or because you're begging for it, or because you're clinging to an idea of someone. It waits. It waits for alignment, not desperation. Because if you're still chasing validation, if you're still craving someone to fill your emptiness, if you're still running from your reflection, then the people you attract won't be your soulmate. They'll be your mirror, a reflection of your chaos, a test wrapped in romance. Not because life is cruel, but because your soul is still learning. The world doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your energy. Desperation pulls in confusion. Lack pulls in more lack. Fear repeats cycles over and over until you finally pause and say, enough. I want to heal. That's why you keep attracting people who aren't ready. Why you get ghosted. Why you feel insane. It's not punishment. It's feedback. Your energy is still unsteady. But one day, something shifts. After all the late nights, after all the heartbreaks, after all the tears you cried behind closed doors, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop shrinking yourself for connection, and instead, you turn inward. You sit in your own silence. You face the pain. You meet yourself, maybe for the first time ever. And in that stillness, something incredible happens. You begin to feel whole, not because someone completed you, because you completed you. You stop asking, when will I meet the one? You start asking, what part of me am I still avoiding? You stop fearing loneliness and start falling in love with your own peace. That's when the universe responds, not with chaos, not with drama, not with fireworks, but with clarity, with alignment, with someone who doesn't spark insecurity but resonance. You won't have to chase it. You won't question your worth in their presence, because you'll know they're not here to fix you. They're here to walk beside you, and you're finally ready to walk with them. Not from need, from wholeness. Conclusion. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. So the next time you meet someone and something inside you shifts, when your breath catches, when the world slows down for just a second, pause. Don't rush to label it. Don't try to force it into a box. Just feel it. Because not every spark is romantic, and not every connection is forever. But every person you meet carries a message. Some show you strength. Some show you weakness. Some teach you how to love. Some teach you how to walk away. So instead of asking, who are they to me? Ask, what are they showing me about myself? Because people aren't random. They're messengers. From your soul. From the version of you that already knows what you need, even if you haven't realized it yet. Some people shake you awake. Some people break your heart to heal it. Some people don't stay, but leave you forever changed. And that's the magic. So if someone just came to mind, if someone left fingerprints on your soul, share your story. Because this channel isn't just about ideas, it's about connection. Drop your experience in the comments. Let's build something real together. And if this message spoke to you, if it made you feel seen or less alone, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in more than just coincidence. Because the universe, it never shouts. It whispers. Through moments. Through people. Through you.